Thank you. Thank you, Ted. That was very nice, very sad, and very true. I live in Israel, yes, and life is very hard right now. I'm not going to lie. I did not want to come here. I love my mother, but I did not want to come. My two sons are in the Army. My oldest child, 22, just got out. He was in artillery by the Gaza border, hated the Army. And my second son is 20 years old. He is in Gaza. He is a combat medic and is on the mortar team. We don't hear from him. They're not allowed cell phones in Gaza because Hamas can infiltrate all communications, and it's too dangerous. Some of you know me. I moved to Israel in 2005, and like so many Americans who made Aliyah, it was a dream to live in Israel. I never expected a big war, especially a war like this. Like I said, I didn't want to come, but my director said you have to go and share with the world what we are going through. They want to know. So I want to thank all of you who came here today for wanting to know, because it is hard to see how the world really feels about us. It feels like we're very isolated in Israel. The internet is a terrible place, and you see a lot of hate. I'm a regular American Jew. I was raised here in Wilmington, Delaware. Some of you have known me for years. Some of you have been to my bat mitzvah. I was a normal girl. I was a cheerleader. I was not very involved in Jewish life. No one in my family had been to Israel. I did not go to Camp Ramah. And my transformation happened in college, and I ended up going to Israel and loving it and decided to move there. So I did, and I convinced my husband, who's from Philadelphia, and we moved together. And we ended up living where we live, over the Green Line in Yehuda and Shomron. Some of you call it the West Bank, really by accident. I fell asleep, and I did not see the soldiers on the road. I did not see the guards on the gate. And when I opened my eyes, I saw green grass, red roofs, and mothers eating ice cream with their children, like a little perfect village. And that's what our lives are like. It's a quiet little place, kind of like where I grew up here in Wilmington. Today, I find myself with 5 children living in this place, Susia, 200 families. And it's a beautiful little town. I invite you all to visit. My mother has been there several times. We have a kindergarten, a school, a playground, a market, a library, and lots of children, 200 families, and about 1,500 people. People have large families. I have 5 children, and my family is kind of small. We are surrounded by Arab villages. We don't have a fence. We are surrounded by grapevines and olive groves. We have a security road. And the Arab villages we see them. We see the houses. They don't bother us. On the morning of October 7th, I was walking my dogs. We have 2 big dogs. I know a lot of you have dogs. I love my dogs the way you love your dogs. And I was walking them. It was Saturday, Shabbat. I live in a religious community. Everyone keeps Shabbat, so we don't drive on Saturday. And people go to pray, and they spend the day with their families. I was walking the dogs, 7 in the morning, around the security perimeter. We live about an hour from Gaza. And I saw smoke in the distance, and I heard what I thought was thunder. And I saw a friend of mine, and I said, yeah, I hear the thunder. That's strange, because we don't really have thunder in Israel. And she said, it's not thunder. Something's going on. And I dismissed it. And I walked back closer to my house. And it was Shabbat, but it was always also Simchat Torah. Simchat Torah is a holiday where you celebrate the reading of the Torah from the beginning. And it's a very happy holiday, and children get candy, and people drink alcohol, and it's that kind of happy, from very early in the morning. So I got back to my house about 8 o'clock, and all these little children were outside because there was extra praying near my house, and they were all looking at the sky. And I thought, sounds ridiculous, but I thought they were throwing candy at the sky and waiting for it to come down. But I found out later that they had heard that there were rocket attacks, and they were looking for the rocket attacks and looking for the planes. It didn't make any sense to me. I got back to the house, and you have to understand, we don't have our phones, we don't use our phones during Shabbat, and nobody has a TV on. It's very old school, old-fashioned, like the 1950s. So you're relying on what people are telling you. And I got back into my house. It's now 8 o'clock in the morning. My whole family was home. My boys are released from the army every 2 weeks. It's normal to come home for Shabbat. And my son, these kids sleep in. They're teenagers. Well, my son was standing up in the hallway with his uniform on his phone. It was strange. And I heard him speaking, and I thought, who is he talking to? What's he doing? And he said, Mom, there's a war. I have to go. I have to go to the base. Now, if any of you are not familiar with the rules of Shabbat, another one is we don't drive. Nobody drives. So I didn't know how we would get there, and we walked him to the entrance and waited for someone to maybe pick him up. It didn't happen. My husband ended up driving him. So it was very strange. Shabbat is usually very peaceful, very quiet, very laid back. The kids sleep until 11. I'm the only one up. In comes my younger son, who had gone out because it's a day of drinking, and how exciting to be able to drink alcohol. He's 13. He came in the house and he said, I think I'm having a dream, but my kids are telling me they saw Daddy's car driving. And I said, yeah, there's a war. He took Zevi to base. And he said, oh, I thought it was a dream. A few minutes later in the morning, 2 teenagers came to our front door, drunk, because, again, it's a day when you're allowed to drink with your dad at the synagogue. And they said, there's a war. Take out all your weapons and be alert and turn on your phones. And I thought they were drunk and just babbling. So I said, okay, go ahead, bye-bye. I didn't believe it. And lunchtime comes. Okay, this is the big thing on Shabbat. You eat lunch together, your family's home. And my son said at synagogue, they said that there was a party and that terrorists came in and killed a bunch of people. And I said, whoever told you that is an idiot. And, what are you saying? And that's ridiculous. Go get the salad, and that's enough. We didn't know. I didn't believe it. It sounded like a fantasy. So we learned slowly, very slowly, what had happened. My other son was away for Shabbat. We're too boring for him. He goes to friends. And he called me. My phone had been turned on, and he said, I can't come home. There are rocket attacks here. I have to go to my base, but I can't leave until we're allowed to leave. And slowly, we started realizing what was going on. We learned about the kidnapping. We learned what all of you learned, the attacks. 22 communities along the Gaza border. The security fence had been broken in 20 places. A base nearby. Where were the soldiers? They were all slaughtered. The cameras were disengaged. The security system had been overrun. There had been plans. They had been attacking for months along that fence. And they had been watching and planning and noting everything that the Israeli security side did. Hamas is not stupid, and they didn't do this alone. Since then, we very quickly learned what happened, and all our men left. Most of our boys who are in the army stayed away, and the ones who had already been released in their 20s and 30s were recruited. The security forces where we live we have our own security force, emergency security. It was something like 12 people. Now it's about 40. I had never seen security during my walks with the dog. Now all the roads are patrolled. Sandbags immediately went out, and people started taking this seriously. And it has been going on already. 100 days was marked just a few days ago. And it has just been a nightmare. It has just gotten worse and worse. We lost our first soldier on the first night of Hanukkah, a friend of mine's son. They were trying to rescue hostages, and they went into a building that was booby-trapped, and he was killed. He and his friend were killed. And it was just awful. When we learned about this, again, it didn't seem real. We had escaped death for so long. We were about to light the Hanukkah menorah, and my daughter, who was a part of a medical team, she's only 16, she took the course this summer. She got a notice on her phone from the head of the medical team to another medic, "I'm sorry about your son." I know them all. I knew exactly who it was. And I said, he must have gotten injured. And then later we found out he was killed. I couldn't believe it. Since then, we've lost 3 soldiers in my yeshuv. I know them all. The Shiva tent goes up. The army provides a big tent for the family. It's just awful. And all over the country, this is happening. I don't know the count. I don't want to know the count, but that day of the attack, 3,000 Hamas terrorists came into Israel, and they killed 1,200 Israelis. Since then, 260 were kidnapped, some have been released, soldiers are dying every day, and it's a terrible situation. I had this sick feeling in my stomach, actually, on October 8th, that this is not going to be good. And what did we see? Maybe just a week and a half after the attack, we saw on the news around America and around the world pro-Hamas demonstrations in the cities, in the universities. It's been bad. But in Israel, it has not been bad. The country has been united, and that's what I'm here to tell you about today. The Thai workers that work on the farms in Israel all left. So all the farms and all the plantings were abandoned, and calls went out for volunteers. Families had to leave their communities along the Gaza border. They were asked to leave, they evacuated. Not all, but most. And they've been placed in hotels and in temporary housing around the country. Well, someone had to take care of those kids. And also someone had to take care of those families left behind. Volunteers from all across Israel have risen to this and have all pitched in. I myself, that's a picture of me on my birthday. I took my son with me along the Gaza border picking oranges in one of the farms. Every day, thousands of volunteers go out across Israel. It is amazing. People are sewing up uniforms. People are babysitting kids in the hotels. People have donated games. People have donated food. People are making barbecues for soldiers. They're sending care packages. They're sending equipment. All those reservists, 350,000 reserve soldiers were called up at once, and they did not have the proper vests, they didn't have the proper helmets. Americans and people from all over the world chipped in and got it done, sending duffel bags on the airplanes. It is amazing. It is amazing the support we've gotten. So it's very heartwarming in that sense. But it's still going on, and it's not going to end soon. And we've been told, and my sons have been told, this will be going on for a long time. There were so many things to do, and there were so many people affected that everybody is in a kind of, there's a word for it, it's in here somewhere. I have this speech, unbelievable, 11 pages I wrote, and I don't want to look at it, I want to talk to you. But people are all traumatized in Israel. I went to a social workers event for mothers of soldiers. 15 women went. Now, every single mother in my yeshuv has a soldier who's either their husband or their son. So only 15 went. Why? Because they don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. What are they going to say? Everybody's affected. And you can't talk too much, and you can't complain too much, because you're going to bring down morale. And we don't want our soldiers to give up, or be angry, or be fearful. So we just tell them, good job, keep going, you're doing a great job. Inside, I don't think everyone feels that way. My son was not sent to Gaza right away. You probably got the reports here, I don't know, and I'll just tell you quickly one of the other reasons I wanted to speak to all of you. Every time I spoke to my mom on the phone, or my sisters, and told them what was going on, they said, we don't get that news. We don't hear about that. And I'll tell you some examples. My son told me, Mommy, they fight dirty. They are wearing our uniforms. We went to see him. We had 4 hours to see him before he was sent into Gaza. We had to meet him on a kind of a hilltop forest near his base. And he said, look, new uniforms. Why? Because they've stolen ours. And we have to make sure we know who we are. Now in Gaza, some of them put up amplifiers, big speakers, and they have the voices of the kidnapped on those speakers to lure the soldiers into an ambush. Another thing they do is come out with white flags, pretending that they are neutral and they are surrendering when they actually have weapons on them to trick the soldiers. And it's been reported, I think here also, that 3 people, Israeli, who were kidnapped were killed, and that's why they were holding a white flag. It's a very, very horrible enemy we are fighting. And our boys are just boys. We don't raise our boys to be soldiers forever. They are not professional soldiers. They're soldiers because that's their duty. It's different than here. Here, when you know a soldier, and some of you might be veterans yourselves, that's what you do. That's your career. These boys are 18 years old. They want to get married. They want to go learn. They want to go travel. My son is 20. He doesn't even have a driver's license. And now he's doing very, very difficult things and seeing things that will change his life forever. So it's very different than being an American. Ted mentioned about 9/11. We all remember where we were on 9/11. I was working as a paralegal on Liberty Place right here in Philadelphia. I was pregnant with my first child, and I was working on the 33rd floor. And I went into the coffee room and saw that second plane hit the building right behind the reporter. And I didn't understand what was going on. I'm sure you all remember where you were that day. And if you were in Philadelphia, you remember it was like a fire drill. Everybody was on the sidewalk. All the buildings were evacuated. And then we were sent home. And the next day, I think we all went back to work. Well, we have not gone back to work. Nothing has continued normal. We didn't have school. Everything was closed when this attack happened. have been roaming around the country, evacuated. Can you imagine going from hotel, living with your children in a hotel? It's not so fun after a couple days. And not just along the Gaza border, but now along the Lebanese border. And that's another bunch of people. Eilat, the city that is where people go for, it's a resort town in the very south of the country, where everyone goes for vacation, has about 80,000 people. Now it's 130,000 people because of the refugees there. No one's going on vacation. There are no hotel rooms. The refugees they're not refugees, they're evacuees. They're still away from their homes. The people who have left behind are disabled, or they own farms, or they don't want to leave, and their homes are like ghost towns. Can you imagine, after 9/11, that happening in New York City? It didn't. And as Ted told you, our army, went to fight in Afghanistan. Well, in Israel, we're fighting on our own land, along Gaza border and along the Lebanese border. And it's very close to home. It's very different. We're all affected. Everyone has either a husband or a son or a daughter or someone they know who has been kidnapped or injured or killed. My sons have friends who were at that music festival. Two of their friends covered themselves in mud, dug a hole, and hid. A friend of mine had his son there, and he called him and said, "Dad, do you know what's happening?" And the father said, "Are you high?" No, I'm not. He said, "Then get out of there." And he got in his Jeep and drove across a field and got away. My son learned to be a combat medic with some of those boys who were slaughtered in that base. And he said, "Mom, those soldiers, they're new. They've only been there a month." Every time my sons would come home, they went to a funeral. Everyone in my family has been to Har Herzl. It's a military cemetery. And it's not just my family, it's everybody. It is very hard for us, and it's very hard for all of you to understand, because Israel is so small. Israel is, they say, the size of New Jersey. But as Ted said, there's only 2 degrees of separation. His brother is our coach. I would encourage questions, because I don't want to just drone on and on. It's depressing. So if any of you do have questions, please ask. I had a PowerPoint. It didn't work, so it's just me and you. Oh, yeah, you can stand up. And I'll tell you one, go ahead. Good. Oh, not yet? Good, well, I'll keep talking until somebody has the nerve. I was telling you that our sons are just like little boys. And I hate to say that, but we want them to be mature men. But my one son, the older one, who thinks he knows everything, I asked him, "What do you want? What do you need? Do you need snacks? What should I bring you?" "Mom, can you send books? Can you send Harry Potter books? And cards?" And we got them. Yes.
Hi, Natalie. Short of us getting on a plane and going over and picking oranges, because short of getting on a plane and going to pick oranges or pomegranates, and I have family who have done that. What can we here in Maris Grove do to help you and the Israelis?
Good question. I'm here on behalf of the first response medics that operate throughout Israel, and specifically in the areas of conflict. It's called Rescuers Without Borders. I actually have cards going around. It's a prayer. It's in Hebrew, and that's okay, hold on to it. I hope everyone is getting one. One side of the card is a prayer for the soldiers and security forces. The other side of the card is a prayer for the hostages. Prayer is very effective. I don't care if you're religious or not. It is effective in whatever language you want. So prayers are very helpful. And all of you who have been praying for my sons, thank you. It is very meaningful. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is send support. You can send financial support. I have materials outside, and you can send a check. You can wear a pin, make a donation, wear a pin. Show your support for Israel. Too many people are voting against us. They hate the Jews. They hate Israel. They want us gone. They believe the same way our enemies believe. Israel is a democracy. It is an oasis in the Middle East. Arabs there have the best life of any Arabs anywhere. They can do whatever they want in Israel. Hamas and the people who hate us are being used as pawns. It's terrible. It's a terrible situation. But Israel isn't going anywhere. And the more support that you show and you feel and you stand strong, it is better for all of us. So there's a pin out there on the table, envelope there, put something in the envelope and take a pin and wear it. We need your support. Online support, social media, put a flag on your page. Show support. Show support for Israel. Be loud, be proud about it, because there aren't that many speaking out. Yes, question over there.
The one thing we hear all the time on the media, you hear a lot more pro-Palestinian than you do pro-Israel. What can we do about that? And how can we get that to be louder? We can do Facebook, we can do individual, but how can we get the media to tell stories like you are so that people get educated with that?
The media is controlled by bigger powers than Natalie Sopinsky. That I don't have an answer for. The media needs pressure, I suppose, political pressure, business pressure. I wish I had an answer for that. I wish I had considered that before when I asked for questions. I don't know. Connections, whatever connections you have. A lot of media has reached out to me, good and bad. The New Yorker, for instance, had a reporter, and I declined that interview. I went with a bunch of reporters with Regavim. It's a political organization in Israel. Europeans, they're very negative. You have to just close your mouth. I didn't realize. I started talking. They wrote down every word I said, and they're negative. They're negative. They twist your words. I don't know. I don't think you can really trust the media. It's a horrible thing, but you just really can't. My sisters and friends here tell me, Natalie, they're not telling us what you're telling us. They're not telling us what's going on. They have an agenda, and their agenda is not to help Israel. It's very sad. The world has turned upside down. When you support terror and justify rape, murder, killing, burning entire families, what does that say? Do you want that media representing anything? Don't watch them. Don't listen to them. Don't buy their newspapers. Don't buy their publications. Yes, over here, lady with a hand up.
It is true what you're saying about the media, but there is media that reports the truth, but most people don't want to watch it. Fox News and I think it's Newsmax, I have heard what you're saying on television. And also I have heard that the people that are going and demonstrating, that many of them are the same people that go from place to place. And so it may not be as bad as you think here in America. There's a lot of people, especially Christians, love the Jews, and they are supporting them. And there's commercials on television that talk about sending money for food for the Jewish people that lived through the Holocaust and are still alive. There is some media. So listen to all the media. Listen to the other stations and you'll hear a little bit more of the truth.
I know there's a Bible group here, and I'm sure there are other groups here, and people like that can find support, I think, in those groups. Here's another question. Yes?
Hi. Welcome. Is somebody else talking? Okay. Welcome.
Wait, we have a woman with a microphone. 1 minute, 1 minute. Okay. A recap of what? Just now? This woman said there's Christian media. There are Christian and Fox News, and there is some media that is reporting the truth. She said she's heard there what I'm saying here. Fox News and Newsmax, I think. Okay, we'll get back to that. Yes.
Okay. I'm here with a couple of hats, but first I take my hat off to you. 30 years ago, I went on a tour to Israel with my mother. Didn't want to go. I was working, I was busy, 3 kids, a dog, a husband. No. And then I was guilted into going. And since then, I've been there 35 times.
Whoa.
I joined an organization called Volunteers for Israel with Sarel. Became a local rep, board member, speaker. And every time I do this, I have a renewed sense of identity, which shocks the hell out of me because I never, ever thought my life would take a turn like that. And there is great need. As far as media, there are a number of organizations in Israel which specialize in countering what the media here and in other countries, especially England, have to say about what's going on. One is Camera, which is all caps, the word camera. Honest Reporting, which is one word. People there are amazing. Mm-hmm. Memory. There's Daniel Pomerantz, who started something called Reality, which is brand new. You can get their emails. If you look and pay attention, you will find lots of information that is not maybe on MSNBC, but it's there.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's what this woman says. She's right. It's very, like, you're giving these organizations you're naming to me, Camera, Honest Report, these are all the same people. You go on their trips, they're all the same people. It's an echo chamber.
Yeah, it's true. You're speaking to the choir, and you are now, but somebody has to speak out.
Mm-hmm.
And
They are.
Somebody has to get out of the chair or
Yeah.
out of the office and just do it
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I encourage anyone who's got an inclination. And the organization you mentioned is Hatzlacha?
We're Hatzalah Without Borders. Okay. Hatzalah is Hebrew for rescue. You could say Rescuers Without Borders.
And could you tell us what you do and
Sure.
how we can help you?
Sure, yeah.
Thank
So
you.
we were started in 2001 in Israel because people were being killed in the Intifada, the uprising, and there was nobody helping and saving the victims because the ambulances would not come where we live, over the Green Line. You call it the West Bank, but the biblical name is Judea and Samaria. That's where I live. It is the most beautiful part of Israel. It's north of Jerusalem and south of Jerusalem, which is all the way to Beersheba. It's mountains. It's a lot like California. We grow grapes, the olives. That's the climate, and it's the ancient part of Israel, and it is now with the most Arabs and 500,000 Jews living across 150 different communities. Every community is different size. There's no community as big as Marist Grove, but there are little villages. And our service, our first response medics, are the 911 of that area. It's a large area. It's challenging because of the rough terrain and because we have an enemy population living there too. So our medics are armed, they are fast, they are smart, and they all live in those areas. So if there's a terror attack on the road and there's an active shooter, our medics know how to get there because they live there. We're not calling some service in Tel Aviv to come help us. We're helping ourselves. And a lot of our medics are also security officers. It was started by the security division because nobody was coming out. And it's working. We have 1,600 medics, and my daughter will be one of them. It's volunteer. These are all volunteers. These people are normal mommies and daddies, teachers and builders, and on the side, they're on call. And they have a bag with a defibrillator in it, and they have oxygen and whatever you need. And my mom actually was with me, and I mean, my dog scratched her face, and the medic came to our house, into the bedroom, and patched her up. Things happen in everyone's life, not just terror. Car accidents, broken legs, heart problems, having a baby. This happens no matter where you are. You need medical support, and we've built it, and it is great. It's made us very secure where we live. So that's the information you have out there. And I've spoken here about 5 years ago. Some of you may have been there. Evie was there. And, it's funny because I have a whole slideshow about, and it shows different medical emergencies and terror attacks and things. And even in peace in Israel, there's terror. So what happened October 7th, it was unexpected, but we see terror all the time. Not on that scale. But these, we are living with people, and they have one goal, and their one goal is to wipe out the Jews. That's all they've got. That's it for them. That's their dream. It's their culture. And you can't win with an enemy like that. So you have to fight, you have to be strong, and you have to grow. And we need to keep growing and to keep strong and fight back. People ask me if I'm afraid. Why do I live there? Why would I put my family in danger? As I was waiting for this question. But I don't see it that way. And I think we're all capable of change. I mean, I'll be honest with you, when I used to go to the Mann Music Center in Philadelphia, I was scared. I think we all have fear of things that we don't know. I think being, in an unknown situation is scary. I used to be scared to drive to the airport. You do it once, you do it twice. It's not scary anymore. I carry a weapon, I drive fast, I say a prayer, and I hope for the best. I saw a hand.
I was wondering if you're able to celebrate religious services with a rabbi at this time, or do you just pray within your homes?
No, everything has pretty much gone back to normal. We pray with the regular synagogue. There are bar mitzvahs. People are getting married. A lot of weddings now on bases. It's really beautiful. The movie stars, the Israeli movie stars, and the rock stars are going around to the different army bases and performing for free, and celebrating people's weddings for free. And even actors have been called up to serve, and they go. And, nobody is too proud to serve and put on the uniform of the IDF. And it's really wonderful. The country is really experiencing this difficulty together. And there are people serving in the reserves that are grandparents. You can serve, I think, until you're 47. And there are people that are older who are career soldiers or who are very dedicated. And like I told you, all my friends, a lot of their husbands are away. in the army. And it's very funny in Israel. I'll tell you this. I was raised here, so I don't have this experience myself. But all my friends, every year, their husbands do go away to serve for about 3 weeks. They do 3 weeks of reserve duty. And it's very funny. The wives love it. Okay? And the husbands pretend that it's so hard. But we know what they're doing. They're drinking beer, they're smoking cigarettes, and they feel like they're 25. So all of a sudden, to see these men going away, and some of them are not coming back, is very, very painful. You see the ages of these soldiers. Some of them are in their 40s. They're not all young. And they're thinking they're out with their buddies. They're going to shoot some cannons and wear the uniform and do some push-ups. And they're getting killed. It's not fair.
The area where you live, you talk about a lot of villages. Are you afraid to go into any of these other villages? Any the Palestinian villages are dangerous. You don't go there. Are we getting more Jewish settlements to counter that? Can you speak about that?
You see me smiling. We're not allowed in those villages. It's illegal for Israelis or Jews to go into these Area A villages. We will not come out. There are big red signs that say Israelis forbidden, prohibited to go in there. It's called the Oslo Accords. It was an agreement made, I think in, 1993. It didn't really work, but the Arabs are dangerous and we're not allowed in. But maybe that will change. Maybe that will change. But yeah, I don't go into Arab villages. Can't.
One of the major issues in this country, as you pointed out, are demonstrations by college students, even high schools, which are pro-Palestinian. Big, big difficulty in the United States. And sort of a contamination of the youth by the sort of colonialism and underdog mentality.
Yeah.
Very difficult, and it's very hard to understand how to do anything about it. But there's an organization called Stand With Us,
Sure.
which is really good, and I would encourage people in the audience to contribute to them.
Yeah, it's a great.
It's a marvelous organization which deals directly with the student issue, and which is one, very hard for us and older people in the United States to understand.
It's not just older people, it's
pro-Palestinian
terrible.
Attitudes.
Yeah.
And the youth, we have to get to the youth, and this is what one organization does very, very well about that. Second question I have for you is about, are there any volunteering opportunities for people? Now, we're volunteers for Israel. We send people to work on army bases, volunteer on army bases. But there must be other opportunities for volunteering. Are there opportunities with your organization or other organizations that you could tell us about? So we wouldn't do, necessarily older people might not do it, but their children might do it.
Okay.
And their grandchildren might be interested in that. So we're interested in trying to understand from you how we could help physically as well
Okay.
as financially.
Okay, so I have a long list. I don't have it with me, but I'm even part of a group, volunteers in Israel. There's volunteers in Jerusalem. There are all kinds of things to do. A lot of the work is on the farms. It's not all physical. There's sorting. There's packages, building things up, food packages for the soldiers. My sons, they get packages. Mending, all kinds of things, games for the kids and the kids that were evacuated. I have a long list. I write a newsletter, and ever since the war broke out, every week I've written a newsletter. Some of you might get it, and one of those newsletters listed the opportunities. It's amazing. I'm on this one group of farming volunteers. So many things to do. Some of them are easy. It's not all dirt. Some of them are plantings, all kinds of things to do. And I just don't have that at my fingertips, but I'll be glad to share it. Please sign I have in the back, a ledger, and you can sign there, and I can send you some of this information if you could leave your email. What is the other thing you just said to me? Volunteer opportunities you wanted to know? That's a great way. That's a great way. There's also, I have a friend of mine is a social worker, a therapist. Even they need therapy. People need therapy. Everyone is affected now. Everybody has PTSD. There's no one you can really talk to. It's unbelievable how many people have been affected. I know someone who came over. I met someone, just like as I'm speaking to you, I made a friend in a group like this in the Villages in Florida. Her daughter came to Israel for a wedding, October 7th. The groom was called up, and he got his arm shot off. Yeah, I mean, just there's no end to the trauma and the tragedy. It has affected everybody. You don't even want to pick up the phone sometimes because you just don't want to get news because it's going to be bad. Yes.
Do people know that you have a radio program that they can listen to? And are you still doing the same format, which was talking about people who were making Aliyah? Are you still have that program?
I still have the program. It's called Returning Home. It's on Israel News Talk Radio
Yes.
under the Fox satellite. It's
very interesting. I recommend it highly.
And it's honestly been very hard to do this program lately. It's hard. It's hard to be positive. I'll be honest with you. It's not easy. But yeah.
Can you speak to the economic damage that's being done to Israel through all of this?
Not
in terms
much.
In terms of the economy?
Not much. I don't know the details of that, but yeah, it has hit the economy. Any war will hit the economy. I don't have what to say there. At first, things were closed. I remember my mom saying, "Do you have food? Can you get food?" And I was like, we're managing. But things have picked up. And there is food on the shelves, and the malls are open, and people have gas in their cars, and people have returned to, the war has become kind of like, I don't want to say an excuse, but this is why some things just don't work out. For instance, my son learns in high school, yeshiva, in Eilat, and he goes 1 week there, and 1 week he's at home, because the teachers are all in reserves. My third son is in the pre-army program in the Jordan Valley in the north, and they don't have any teachers at all. They're all in the reserves. So he has, and his classmates have been helping out at the farms, picking dates and doing sports. They have one guy helping them, their army preparation. No teachers. The teachers are all in the army. At the store, they had to hire new teenagers because the manager is in the army. Everybody's called to the army. Just people aren't around. I needed someone to fix my computer before I came here. Part of it broke. The technician said, "I can do it in 3 days." I said, "I'm leaving tomorrow." He goes, "Well, my technician's in the army." Everyone's in the army. But we're muddling through. Yes, I see a hand. I see you pointing. Yes.
If you are able.
Yeah, put the mic under there. That's what it is.
If you are able to, can you recommend the best place for news? Online, on news magazines, anywhere?
American news?
Yes.
I don't follow
For
American.
the truth, for what?
I don't watch American.
Is there such a
Okay,
thing?
you, Sorrel lady, yeah. I-24 News, that's in Israel. You get it here? I-24 News, and it's an I, the I-24. That's an Israeli station, sure. I-24. I believe they're in Tel Aviv. And it's in English, all English. And there might be another one, similar one. Yes, hand in the air, over there.
You keep mentioning. Is it on? Hello. You keep mentioning the men, the boys. Women go in
Yeah.
for service too. What's the proportion?
I don't
and
know.
how is that decided?
That I don't know, but women do go in also, and I didn't know that women go to reserves. I didn't know. Where we live, and in the religious, modern Orthodox type of communities, the girls don't go to the army. They do something called national service. They volunteer 2 years of their life to help some aspect of Israeli society. You had a program like this, John F. Kennedy started something like that also. And a lot of these women become social workers, or they work in nursing homes, they work with the Knesset, they become tour guides, all kinds of cool stuff they can do. Some of them go abroad. But most of the religious settler types like we are, modern Orthodox, the men, they all serve. And a lot of them are fighters. That's why a lot of the men dying are religious. The religious men seem to be more fighters, less jobs.
It seems that there have been, in the news, many young women in combat. Is that correct?
I don't know. I don't think women should be in combat, honestly. We had them guarding in Susia once, and it's
not required by Israel that men and women do armed service?
They need to do service. They can either do the army or national service. They need to do 2 years of something to help the country.
Okay.
And I think my daughter actually might go to the army.
Is it required she do something?
It's required to do something.
Okay.
Yeah. They even have a unit of young people who have problems, who have autistic problems. They even do something. I mean, everyone does something. And there's a lot to do. Who has the mic? But yeah, the people in Israel, they actually learn at a very young age the merit and the value of being a volunteer. And it's really remarkable. It's in them. It's a great value they learn. Who has a microphone? Go ahead.
The television program that tells about the Israeli news, I-24, is listed in Maris Grove as 1118. That's 1118. I listen to it regularly. I turn it on first thing in the morning. Not only do they have interviews and news, they have a scroll at the bottom that tells
That's
all
so
the
great.
latest news
Good.
that's happening.
Okay.
That's 1118, I-24 News.
There's also one other station, I don't know the number, it's Jewish Learning Session. Oh, thank you. Okay, and that's not news all the time, it's a lot of programming, but they have a lot of podcasts on there that come directly from Israel, which is very informative. Jewish Learning Network, is that what? Somehow I'll have to get that out to you. I just know it's on.
So I encourage everyone to please sign the sheet so we can communicate,
Yeah.
and I can share that with all of you.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
I think pictures have been taken, and I would send those pictures to all of you also. I know you have a newsletter in Maris Grove. And I just want to tell you there's a lot of depression in Israel, but there's a lot of positivity as well. And I didn't want to give a sad, depressing talk, so I'll just tell you 2 projects that my organization has done. We are first response medics, but when we see a need, we try to jump in and fill that need. One thing we have done is built a laundry truck for the soldiers. We've taken a truck and put washing machines on it, and a dryer, and 2 showers, and we get a barber. And we go from base to base, and the soldiers walk across the field and bring their laundry, and we do their laundry, they get a haircut, and they take a shower. It has been very successful. If anyone is interested in donating to that specifically, write on your check, laundry truck. Another project we've done, and it's a shame you can't see the movie, but this is actually a little sadder. We have a horse therapy farm that we created along the Gaza border because of all the rocket attacks that have been going on since 2004 on these different kibbutzim where the children live. And the children there are like, really, talk about post-traumatic stress. They're afraid of balloons because the Gaza people were sending over balloons that were bombs. And the terror tunnels were being found, and it was, awful. The sirens go off. They had 15 seconds to run to a shelter, these little kids. So we created, with help from supporters in Europe, a horse therapy farm. I'm sure some of you have heard of horse therapy. It's very effective. The child tells his secrets to the horse, then the child pets the horse and learns to ride the horse. And it's a very helpful, a very interesting medium for therapy for children. They call it even zoo therapy. Even small animals, dogs, are used for therapy. So we set up a horse farm, and unfortunately, that one kibbutz where the horse farm is has been evacuated. The horses are still there. Only 3 people are on the farm. One of them is taking care of the horses. But the children are all over the country now. They're with their parents in hotels or in temporary housing. And now they have this trauma. So what we did was we set up an animal farm on a truck. And I worked on it before I came here for one day. I will never do it again. You're in a truck, and it's set up kind of like a playground with fake grass, and they have rabbits. We bought cages of hamsters and rabbits in one room with games and blocks. And the other room is a therapist with a dog, a professional, and the kids take turns, and they come with their parents. And we were parked in front of the Herod Hotel, which is the fanciest hotel in Tel Aviv. And you see that these kids, they're used to being free and running around. They're all huddled together. They have someone taking them, it's a city. Tel Aviv is a busy city. They're not used to that. And they came on the truck and petted the rabbits, and one little child wanted to climb up into a cabinet because it was dark. And it was very hard. So that's a project we've done, and we're going around the country to different hotels and to different temporary centers in different cities, and helping this need that is, we know these kids, the faster they get the help, the sooner they'll be more normal and have normal emotions again. It's very traumatic what some of them have seen. Some of them are missing. One of the movies I was going to show you, we don't know where these kids are. Some of them have lost their parents, and some of them have been kidnapped themselves. It is so strange. I was looking for a car, and this is my final story. I was looking for a used car in Beersheba, and I went into a car place, an agency, and one of the salespeople there is 21 years old. So I asked him where he went to school, and he went to school in Meitar with my son. He was a grade behind him. And I said, "Oh, do you know this person? Do you know that person?" "Oh, yes. He had his leg shut off." "Oh, him. He was kidnapped." Oh, it's unbelievable how everyone has lost someone. Everyone. We're not outsiders looking at the news. That's something going on far away. It's happening to us. And I know that's hard to imagine. But it's important to know it's not a movie. Yes, I have one more question, and we got to get out of here.
What is the feeling about Netanyahu in Israel now?
It's mixed. I believe that politicians are pretty much hated right now. I don't believe he's going to any funerals or shivas. Usually they make a big show. Look at the shiva we went to. He's not welcome at any shiva, as far as I know. People are very angry. I mixed feelings. What are you going to do? Not blame him? He was in charge. It's terrible. I wouldn't want to be him. Thank you all. Any other questions? You have one more, and I got to go.
JBS is the channel.
Okay.
798.
Please
798
sign
on
the
cable.
Thank you. Sign the papers so I can be in touch with all of you. If any of
Okay.
you have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you for joining me. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. And thank you, everybody who joined us here today.
Thank you, Jeff, for putting it together. We've got a great turnout. Amazing. Okay, so I don't need half these papers. Thanks. Thanks. Thank you.